Hey everyone, today we have a deck tech. It's a Kara Winterblade Mech deck, which was very common before the expansion, and it has the twist of having Blood Taura in it. Blood Taura is a 12/12 that minions cost is equal to your general's health. This deck was, as far as I can tell, made by Grinch, who has an album with decks from pretty much every general and a few decks by some of the more popular generals. I'll link to that in the description. He has a lot of great decks, and he's probably the top streamer at the moment, so check out his stuff if you get the chance. Basically, the point of this deck is either to summon 5 mechs and get the Mechazor down and try to win that way, or you have the option of trying to, if you're getting low on health, you have the option to come back by landing a Blood Taura, which if you're, low health will be very low mana cost, and then using something like Spirit of the Wild to attack on that same turn, which Spirit of the Wild will activate any minion on your opponent's side of the battlefield. So you can use Spirit of the Wild to attack on that same turn, or you use something like Concealing Shroud, which is the card that makes your general not take damage until your next turn, to buy yourself a turn and let this 12/12 just finish off your opponent. I think this is a pretty interesting concept that Grinch came up with, because Spirit of the Wild was a card that was sometimes seen in Mechazor, because activating the Mechazor on the same turn is very powerful, and you can place the Mechazor on your opponent's side of the battlefield with pretty consistently. So that was kind of a built-in combo. And Blood Taura plus Spirit of the Wild is also an excellent combo. So using just 3 slots to add the Blood Taura as kind of an alternate win condition, I think is pretty interesting. And I think some of the new cards actually add a decent amount to this deck. I think Concealing Shroud allows you to buy a turn, and sometimes you'd find in a mech deck that even if you got Mechazor down, your Mechazor couldn't finish them off in time. You need to buy yourself a turn or two. And I think Concealing Shroud does a great job of doing that. One thing to note is it can be dispelled off, and that actually came up a couple times. So it's not a failsafe, but dispels do cost mana in most cases, and they cost a card, so it limits your opponent's options from killing you. So you don't always want to use it when you're on like 1 health, but if you're worried about your opponent maybe comboing you off next turn, you can use it to make sure that they have to take that extra step to get in range to dispel your general and to spend a card and mana and kind of limit their options for killing you. One change I made was Grinch was using a Sworn Sister, and I changed that out for a Frigid Corona. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I think it's just Corona, it's right here. Which is a 2 mana card that stuns an enemy for a turn. It just makes them not be able to move and attack, and it draws you a card. And the reason I did this was I felt that if you're in a combo deck, which this is very much a combo deck, it's either a 5-card combo or it has the Blood Taura, Spirit of the Wild combo. It's based on synergy. It's definitely a synergy-heavy deck. That drawing random cards from your faction wasn't what we were looking for in terms of card draw. So I tried out a couple different things. I tried out a Spelljammer, and I tried out a Blazehound, and it ended with just me wanting to be able to have a little bit more of a stall defensive option, because our offensive options were so powerful as it was. So I just threw in one Frigid Corona. That's what we're going with. So that was just something I decided to change, but you could try, I think, a lot of different things in that slot. And you could try a lot of things, I think, in the Night Watcher or the Razorback slot. I think those are both slots that you could definitely choose to use as flex slots, because I don't think you have... I was kind of surprised to see the Razorback, actually, because I don't think you always have a ton of minions on the board, and this deck doesn't include any wall spells. So I think you have a lot of options. We include the Snow Chaser. We include all the... First, let me just go through the cards real quick. We include all 15 mechs, because we want to be able to consistently summon Mechazor as quickly as possible. If you were going to cut, you'd probably cut a chassis just because it's the most expensive. You'll find that you win games based a lot on drawing large amounts of helms and wings, because those will give you the craziest mech turns, 2 or 3 or whatever. And if you're stuck playing the cannons and swords and chassis, you're going to come out with a little bit slower, and you won't get to kind of steal games as consistently. Next, we have the Snow Chasers. Snow Chaser is included because primarily because it's very powerful with Wings of Mechazor, because you can summon it on the opponent's side of the battlefield on turn 1 and throw a Snow Chaser down and kind of harass them and add some extra damage, and then it's very easy to just replace away to find some more mechs. Past that, we have the Hurt Sister. Hurt Sister is excellent for getting your dispelled Mechazor into combat. It just has a ton of options. Hurt Sister is one of my favorite cards. I might just make a video about Hurt Sister one day. It has so many tricks you can pull, and it helps you get around taunts, which this deck has a few other tools for, but provoke minions. I apologize, provoke minions. It's just another tool against that. It's a very powerful and versatile card in general. Next, we have the Night Watchers, which are great against some of the aggro magma decks that utilize the rush, although we're seeing more direct hand damage, so maybe that's something you'd want to move away from and go into a different tech card. We have the Razorbacks, which I did find occasionally helpful because we do have some low attack minions between our Helms and our Snow Chasers and the Wings and even the Cannons, and buffing your Mechazor is always excellent. I think you could go towards something like a Primus Fist here, just for a similar effect, but a little bit cheaper and a little bit easier to weave in on turns. And then, of course, we have the Blood Tauras, which are part of our combo. For removal, we have Aspect of the Fox and Chromatic Hold. Get around provokes, add a little extra damage. You can Aspect of the Fox a Wings or a Helm or Snow Chaser to add a little 1 or 2 extra damage. It's kind of a cute little trick. We also have the Concealing Shrouds as a 3 of. I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about these in practice, so that's maybe a number you'd want to tweak. We have the Frigid Corona again, and we have 2 Spirits of the Wild, just for combo. One thing you'd think about adding maybe is if you're going to keep the Razorbacks, maybe playing around with some number of Gravity Wells, which also combo well with the Snow Chaser, because it's another way to deploy it in deep. So that's something to think about as well. And I think there's a lot of work you could do with this deck. It's definitely not perfect. I'd be interesting to hear other people's experiences about it. So that's the deck, and I'm just going to show you a few quick games. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy your holidays.